Hello again, and welcome everybody to another episode of My Money, My Rules. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk some real estate, and we're going to talk to a real estate agent. We're going to talk about when to buy a house and when to rent, and find out all the ins and outs about buying a house if you happen to be interested, and whether or not you should. So, this is Carmen Anderson. She's with eXp Realty, and she's been an agent. Well, how long you been an agent, Carmen? Actually, she can start telling me about this. I don't need to speak for her. Why did you decide to become a real estate agent? How long you been doing it?
So right now I've been a realtor for about 3 years. And the reason, well, there's a couple reasons really. I'm highly passionate about real estate. I love everything real estate, everything house, and it just seemed to be a perfect fit for me. And I absolutely love it. So I'm very passionate about what I do. But the other thing is I had previous realtors that I worked with before becoming a realtor. And you know, I just I worked with these realtors. I bought some houses with them, and they never explained anything to me. They never taught me anything. They never educated me on anything. They just, asked me to sign here, sign there. Didn't really know why I was doing it or what I was doing it for. Um, and so I knew that I could be a better realtor and can better help my clients and educate my clients. And that's what I do.
I see. I see. Well, right now we're in a highly inflationary environment. Everybody's noticed it. Everybody's noticed the cost of things going up, and I'm wondering, there's probably some people right now. Well, I know there's a lot of people right now that would really like to buy a house, but they're sitting there thinking it's really expensive. I'm afraid the moment I do it, the price of housing is going to go down. What might you say to somebody that's considering cost? If they want to buy now, they legitimately do. They're all set up, but they're a little bit apprehensive and think they might want to keep renting. Is it a very good time to when is it a good time to buy? And if so, how long should they be in the house and plan to be in the house? What would you say to a client that asked you that?
What I would say is if you are completely ready to buy, if you've been pre-approved with the lender, which is the first step in the real estate buying process. If you've been with a mortgage lender, gotten pre-approved or pre-qualified, and you're ready to move and start looking for a house, I would definitely say do it. Um, if you continue to rent, you're really just throwing money down the drain, out the window. Um, you're not helping yourself to gain equity and just start making money. Eventually, the sooner you can build equity, the more you can buy later. You can start buying investment properties with that equity and those kind of things. So I realize that interest rates are higher now than they were, and that does hinder some people from being able to be pre-qualified now. But if you are pre-qualified, I would say do it, because right now we're still at 6.5 to 7% on the interest rate. We're still under the historical average. The historical average over the years is 8%. So we're under that right now. Back several years ago, we got all the way up to 12%, and people were still buying and selling. So 7% is not that bad in comparison to 12%.
Yeah, that's especially young people right now. They're not aware of what it was like in like the late 70s and
Mhm.
early 80s whenever interest rates just went
Right.
through the roof. I mean, we weren't at
Right.
that age to buy a house, but yeah, you're definitely right about that. I say that a lot too, that hey, you're looking at, a pretty good interest rate historically speaking. Very true. Um and this is
Right.
the question I just asked is
It's
kind of
no 3%, but
right. Yeah, that was ultra low. We may not see that again for a very long time.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay, generally
Very long
speaking,
time.
very long time. Generally speaking, would you say it's better to buy a house when you're young or wait? Like, I mean, just take inflation and everything off the table, and say that you're not concerned about that. Let's say that you're going to buy a house and you plan to live there the next 40, 50 years, maybe your whole life. You may not, but let's say that that's what you plan on doing. Is it better to
Yeah.
buy when you're young, or is it better to wait?
I would say the younger the better. And I think that if you're in a position to be able to do so, if you can buy, I would, as young as you could be, I would buy a house, because you're really just investing, and you're gaining, like I mentioned a bit ago, you're gaining equity. And I mean, with real estate, most of the time it appreciates. And so you're just gaining. You've invested when you buy real estate. And so the younger the better. Again, as the older that you get and the more years that pass, you've got more and more equity, and you're able to use that equity later on to invest again and get more return on your investment.
Hmm. Okay. Do you have to? I don't even know. I actually have to ask this question because I don't know. I haven't bought a house in a while. It's been like 7, 8 years for me. Do you have to have a down payment nowadays to buy a house? Or the FHA still out there and that kind of thing?
So yeah, the FHAs are still out there, but there are many different kinds of loan types. Some people qualify for some and some don't. Um, you don't necessarily have to have a down payment. Some people think that you have to have 20% down to be able to buy a house, and that's not true. If you are getting a conventional loan or something like that, a lot of times, you have to have at least 5% down for that. Um, but if you're going FHA, it's a 3.5% down. But there are some other loans like USDA RD, which is rural development. That's a 0% down program. If you're a veteran, there's a VA program that's also 0% down. Um, just something to think about though. If your credit is a higher score, you're going to get a better rate in a lot of cases. So that will help your payment and those kind of things. So just watch out for that. Think of those things. The more down payment money that you also put down can affect your payment. So the more you put down, it brings your payment amount down. If you put 0% down, your payment's going to be higher.
Right, right. Yeah, the less you put down, the more you're taking out on a loan. Definitely so.
Yeah, right.
Okay. What if, whenever people are shopping for a house, and I managed to not make this mistake whenever I was first looking for a house a long time ago. The first house I bought was about 23 years ago, and I had heard don't buy two-bedroom homes because they don't hold their value as well, that you're better off getting a three-bedroom house. So, what do you think about that? And even if it's just a married couple, they don't have any kids or something, just two people,
Mhm.
would they still want a three-bedroom house even though they think that they don't need it? Is it true about three bedrooms holding their value longer, as far as you know?
I will say, if you have a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home, that's very standard. So majority of families are looking for, a 3 bedroom or more home. So therefore, it seems to hold the value more because it's what people are looking for, the majority of people. So if you think about it, a 2 bedroom home doesn't fit a lot of families. So that would be the only reason if you were to resell. Um, the house, the real estate, the market is still holding its value in a lot of cases, but you just don't have that percentage of people that are in the market for a 2 bedroom home. So you just cut yourself a little bit by cutting the amount of people that it would fit.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, you might know the answer to this question, but this is a really hard question I'm going to ask that maybe you don't know. But how many people do you think actually live in their houses their whole lives after they buy a house? It's probably a minuscule percent, isn't it? I mean, very few people do.
Probably.
They end up changing their minds at some point in their life, and so yeah. What would you
Yeah.
say?
Oh man, I mean, I think that's a really small percent, maybe 3%, I would guess. I know that, you'll hear from time to time, hey, my grandparents had this house, it was passed down to my parents, and now it's passed down to me. You'll hear stuff like that. It's usually on a farm or something like that. But for the most part, and I hear it all the time, hey, we're looking for our forever home right now. Sure you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I already know. Um, I know you think that, but life changes things and things can change rapidly for you. And you probably not going to be there as long as you thought you might be.
Right, right. Do you have any idea how long people typically live in their houses? Or better yet, maybe another question would be, how long should a potential buyer know that they're going to commit to living in the house before they move and try to sell it? Like, I've heard the numbers about 5 years, but what do you know? What it's a matter of opinion, obviously, in some
Right.
cases, but how long at least, whenever somebody is buying a house, should they need to probably commit to keeping that house since it's hard to sell?
When I heard the statistic, it comes from, whether it comes from the state of Arkansas or the neighbor or board of realtors or the nationwide stat you'll hear. Here in Northwest Arkansas, the stat is about every 2 years, people sell their home and move.
Wow.
It's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, that's
I've
surprising to
lived
me
here my
too.
whole life, so, I haven't moved that much or that often, so it's just, a stat that I wasn't expecting.
Okay. And yeah, we're coming to you here, by the way, from Northwest Arkansas, in case there's anybody that's not listening from this area. So Northwest Arkansas is a strong economy. So it's not surprising, not as
Mhm.
surprising that someone could sell a house after 2 years. But I'm wondering, even nationally, and Carmen obviously can't speak to that because she's a realtor locally. But I've heard the statistic is about 5 years, that you should commit to 5 years. And the reason why I'd heard that is because that's about how long it takes to pay down the closing costs that you took to get the house to begin with, to at least make it more like rent, you might say, if you
Yeah,
ended up
right.
leaving. So, but wow, I did not know that. two
I
years
know,
people
it
are
was
moving. Wow. Okay. Wow, that's a risk I'd be afraid to take, but hey, it's working around here apparently. Okay.
it's working.
Mm-hmm.
It
Okay.
is.
Now I've heard that I've heard people push both 15-year mortgages and 30-year mortgages. And
Mhm.
I know this is kind of a question that's also for the bank, but if somebody were to ask you, if a potential customer were to ask you, should I get a 15-year or a 30-year? What might you say to that? That may not be a question that real estate agents get very often, but I think it's worth bringing up because it does speak to the affordability of the person that's trying to buy the house.
Right. So, I will say, and you mentioned it, I mean, really, the lender, the mortgage lender is who you would probably need to ask, because it really would vary with everyone. Everyone would be different. What I will say about a 15-year mortgage, just for the ones that don't know, more than likely your payment's gonna be higher, because you're trying to squeeze in the cost of the home into 15 years versus 30. So, but you also will be saving money in the long run because you're not paying interest for 15 more years. So
Right.
that's really all I can really say about that. But yeah, that would
Right.
definitely be a mortgage lender question, on a case by case basis.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Yes, you will save a tremendous, but Carmen is definitely speaking to the facts here. If you have a 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage, you're going to save a tremendous amount of interest in that 15 years, but it's also a question of affordability too.
Right.
Okay. Should a person, they're going out and they're shopping for a house and they're like, well, I like this house, I like this house. But you just said that people around here, at least, tend to sell their houses after 2 years. My goodness. So if you're going to be that quick in selling, even if you're going to do it within 5 years, heck, even 10 years, you're probably going to need to look at a house that is going to be sellable, at that point, whenever you're wanting to sell, if it is 2 years, 5 years, whatever. So when buying a house to live in, and determining how much you should pay, should you consider the future value of the house?
It should, and that's something that I always talk to my clients about. Um, but we're lucky here in Northwest Arkansas. Most houses do hold value, especially right now. Um, but I think that that's something you should look at. I don't think that should affect your total, should I buy or should I not? Um, because values do tend to change, the market changes and those kind of things. So it's something you should think about, but not something that should be a big part of your home buying decision.
Okay. Okay. Let's say that you're going to decide to sell later. As a real estate agent, because this is something you probably can speak to, about how long does it take to sell a house? Now, again, we're in Northwest Arkansas. I realize you can only speak to Northwest Arkansas, but how long would you say, the moment you decide to go with a realtor to sell your house, how long does that whole thing take, from buying and moving out to everything? How long does it all take?
So, let's say you decide to sell your house today,
Hmm.
and you reach out. It's usually a week, a little over a week before we can get in there, get all the paperwork signed, decide what you're going to sell your house for, talk about the comps and those kind of things, bringing a photographer in and actually physically getting it listed on the MLS and get it up for sale. So a week to week and a half on that. And then normally, once you get an offer, accept it, or once you get an offer and you accept that offer, it's usually 30 to 45 days, depending on the loan type, but usually within 30 days most of the time, but sometimes some loans take a little bit longer. So 30 to 45 days after getting an offer that you accept. Now, right now in the market, we're seeing homes once they're listed on the MLS, be on the MLS for sale for maybe 2 weeks, sometimes 3. Just kind of depends on your location and the price of the home and that kind of thing. But yeah.
Have you noticed, by the way, that whenever people do want to sell a house, there's a real, I think, what I've seen is that there's like a real emotional connection to that house. In other words, the person that wants to sell the house tends to think, "Oh, this is my baby. It's worth a lot." And you kind of have to get closer, whether you want to or not. You have to get closer to what the house is truly worth, what people are willing to pay for it. So, do you find that happening very often? Because I talked to a real estate agent about that years ago, and she was telling me about how, oh, I wish people would realize, what their houses are worth, and they can't
Yeah.
sell them for as much as that they think they can. And it's a real emotional, a lot of times an emotional decision, because people get attached to their houses. It's easy to understand why. They've lived there for a long time. It's kind of like their
Yeah.
baby. But do you see anything like that happen?
I do. People make memories in their house, so they hate to see it go. It's kind of like sometimes like a car, it could be the same way, but I don't know. I just think that, we do need to understand the values, and that's where it's really great to have a realtor come in that knows the market and that can help you know the value of your home based on the surrounding comps, the area, the location. And I just think that, yeah, they do get attached. But
Yeah.
let's be real. Let's talk about real numbers and let's decide what your home is worth. I will say a lot of times it's actually better to ask a little bit less than even, the value, because when you ask less, the public sees it as a great deal, and you're getting a lot more offers, and you may be in a multi-offer situation where you receive multiple offers, which is great. And then you have some offers to choose from, and you can usually actually end up selling your home for more than you would have ever priced it for to begin with. It's kind of weird how that works.
Yeah, but I can see how that would work. Especially whenever it's a seller's market, and you do exactly what you just said, and you put it out there, and then just multiple people are going to
Mhm.
bring the price up. So yeah, just because you put it there doesn't mean it's going to stay there, because if more than one person is interested, it could drive it up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So it's weird how that strategy works, but it works pretty well.
it does. Yeah. Okay. What about like and it just this just a question just occurred to me. Um I've I've noticed that with my own house, I've talked to people that have come in and taken a look at it, and I've thought about making improvements to it and different types of things I want to do to it. And it's more for my benefit. Like, I want to make these improvements because I want my house to be this way. But what if somebody moved into a house and they know that they're going to sell at some point, and they're starting to think about, oh, I want to make some improvements. Do you know what some of the improvements would be to make to the house that actually has an effect? Because I was thinking about doing some things that were really expensive, and the contractor told me, well, yeah, but just don't go crazy, because it's not going to add as much value to the house as you think that it will. What are some of the things that would add value to the house?
Well, one of the big things, which may seem crazy, is granite countertops. That is one thing that you can upgrade in your home that will help with the resale. Having a pool and things like that really doesn't help with resale all that much unless you've got a specific buyer that's looking for a house with a pool, and that's not a lot of buyers. Um, but an all brick home that helps too. I'm just trying to think of a few more things. I can't think right now exactly, but granite countertops is the one of the top things. Pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that obviously that must still be in style, because that was in style back, several years ago. Whenever I had a home that was built from the ground up,
Hmm.
everything, granite countertops, and we modeled after this other house on the street, and so still the granite, still going strong with
Yep,
granite right
still the
now.
granite. And tile and wood floor, especially wood floor, is a big thing. The carpet needs to be out for the most part. Um, and it's just kind of weird to me too, because I try to tell my clients all the time, we'll go in houses and look at them, and they may see a house with a dining room that's a dark red color. It's just paint. Like, we can paint
Right.
this room and make it whatever color you want, and you'll never know it was red. But a lot of people can't see past that color. It's not a big cost for you to paint. I know sometimes it's a little trying on your body, but it just doesn't cost that much to paint when compared to other upgrades that you can do to a house. So I like to be able to explain that to my clients, hey, we realize this color is not at all what you want, but let's try to see it with the color that you would like it to be. But also saying that, if you have a house and you're looking to sell, the more neutral colors that you have throughout the house and less all multicolor and those kind of things, that really turns people off. People just can't see past it. So
Right.
if you're thinking about painting your room or a room or different rooms some different colors, unless you're really going to be there for a while, I would rethink that a little bit and maybe think about sticking with a more neutral color.
Yeah. Got to think about what the people that are going to be buying want the house to look like and not what you want it to look
Right.
like when it comes to selling it. Yeah. Okay.
Even though you're the one there enjoying it, right? So you still
Yeah,
have to think
exactly.
about, yeah.
Exactly. Well, this is the last question, but I think this is an important question. What would you say is the number one thing that buyers ought to be careful of when buying a house? They're going out and they're looking. If they didn't remember anything else, what should they remember before they go out and buy the house?
Well, first and foremost, and like I tell all my buyer clients, I highly suggest that you get a home inspection. Just because a house looks new or is new, even if it's new construction, I still highly suggest that you get a home inspection, um, because inspectors are going to see stuff and find stuff that maybe the homeowner don't even know about.
Right.
And you want to know those things before you invest this kind of money in your biggest investment of your life. And so I just highly suggest that. I've seen new construction come back with as many or more issues than an existing home. So don't think just because it's new construction that it doesn't have any issues. But this is something that I would definitely do and highly suggest that my clients do.
Okay. Yeah. And that's, you got me there. I mean, whenever a house is constructed for the first time, I might not think to do an
Hmm.
inspection because it's like, it's a
Yeah,
new house. What's the issue? Nobody's lived in it. Why would I want to do an
right.
inspection? So what kind of
Yeah.
things could happen with new construction? Is it just something where they just maybe they didn't know what they were doing or it was like an accident or something? Have you ever come across anything like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've seen stuff with the air conditioning units. I've seen things with wiring. I've seen them not put as much insulation like in the attic that's actually required, and just different things like that. Um, but it's just crazy to me the things that the inspectors do find, and they will find some stuff. Sometimes they don't find near as much as other times, but it's something just to give you a peace of mind that you know what your home is about, what's wrong with it, if anything, and what you can do to fix it moving forward. And it just gives you that peace of mind so that when you come home every day, you know exactly what's going on there.
Okay. Okay. You really got me on that one. I am so glad that we brought that up because I bet there's a lot of people out there. I think it's getting to be really common nowadays for people to get an inspection, but I might not have thought to get
Okay.
one on a new construction. So that's a really good
Hmm.
piece of information right there. Okay.
Yeah, and even as a realtor, so like me personally, I don't work directly with any builders right now currently, but as a buyer, it's better to get a realtor, even if you're working with these big home builders that have subdivisions all over Northwest Arkansas or around the country. You want to get a realtor as a buyer. First of all, as a buyer, you don't pay the realtor commission fees. The seller pays those. So you're actually in a way, getting the realtor services somewhat free. Um, but they would be there to represent you. If you go into a home builder and say go to their model home or meet them somewhere, and you sit down with them and you talk to them about what you want or decide which house or lot that you're wanting to build on, you don't have that representation. They can do things I've seen happen. They can do things and get by with things that if the buyer had the representation of another realtor outside of that builder, they can get those things solved. And most people don't realize that. It's really good to have that in your pocket and on your side. And back to the home inspection, the home inspection is really only $350 to 400 or so dollars. So it's really an expensive way to have that peace of
Yeah.
mind. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, yeah, we're not talking about serious money here when it comes to a home
Oh, no.
inspection. Yeah, there's people that specialize in that and they go through there and it doesn't take as long as you
Hmm.
might think. And like, yeah, like you
Hmm.
said, they'll see things that we may not see. So, if you don't mind, I was going to keep on going just a second, just for a moment on what you were saying about getting a realtor. It occurred to
Hmm.
me that, there are some people that think, you know what, I think I may not go the route of getting a realtor because I don't want to pay that 3% to them and another 3% to whomever. That's what it is still, right? 6%
On average,
on
that's
average. Yeah.
average rate, going rate.
Yeah. And but there are so many hurdles and there are so many things to go through. And I had a realtor tell me once, if you're wanting to sell your house with me, I might be able to, to get the price down to or up to a level that you want that might end up covering the commissions anyway. In other words, you're going to get a little bit more money out of
Hmm.
selling it and maybe selling it quicker than you had
Right.
if you didn't use a realtor. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
That's very accurate. I hear those stats all the time. I see it. I see for sell by owners, the people that are looking to sell homes, um, a lot of times have to end up going with a realtor just because they don't have the means to get the marketing out there in front of the public. They may be mispriced. They don't know necessarily how to have the paperwork process, the contract. They don't have all that legal stuff. We have all that. It's, all of our paperwork's been approved through attorneys. So, we have all that paperwork. We know how to take care of it. We know how to get you help and solve any issues that come up and those things too. So definitely a realtor can help get you more. And a lot of times, like you mentioned, actually, not selling or not making the same money, you're going to end up making a little more. You wouldn't even know you're paying the realtor, so to speak, in some cases,
Yeah, that's a
cost wise.
Yeah, that's a major convenience for the buyer and the seller to use an agent to be able to do that, so they can go about doing the things they need to do. I mean, people work, and I can't imagine trying to show my own house constantly like that. If I was working 40
No,
hours a week and had kids and that kind of thing, they're going to know
yeah, but
how. Sorry, go ahead, Carmen.
uh, oh, I was just gonna say, sorry, Justin. I was just gonna say, you also don't know who's knocking at your door.
Yeah,
Who called you? Do you know these people? Like, a lot of times if a realtor's showing, they're gonna know the people or they're gonna have met them. They're gonna kind of have already figured out that, are the people actually looking for a home? Or are they just there to see what you've got in your house? So it could be a safety thing too.
there's a credible amount of things I think people don't think about, and that's another good one.
Mhm.
I hadn't heard that one, but that definitely makes a lot of sense. Who's knocking up my door? And it
Yes.
is your
Right.
house, it's where you live, it's your castle. You don't want anything like that happening.
Right.
Okay. Well,
But,
Carm
too, like,
uh-huh.
let's just say we're talking about getting a realtor. A lot of people say, I think I just won't use one. I'll just try to do it myself. Well, if you have a plumbing issue in your home, are you going to try to do that yourself too? Or are you going to call a plumber?
Right.
Because you want a professional. There's so many things that can go wrong with plumbing, and same with real estate. There's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many hurdles to jump. You just wouldn't want to try to take care of your plumbing yourself because you could end up having to replace your whole entire wood floor in all of your home, and that's gonna cost you thousands of more dollars than you would have ever had to have paid. That's just an example.
And that's just plumbing. This is a whole house we're talking
That's
about,
just
right?
plumbing.
Okay. Uh, oh, Carmen, thank you very much for joining us today. We have to go, unfortunately, but that was really great. A lot of great information. I learned a few things, and uh,
Awesome.
Carm Carmen Anderson, she's with EXP Realty. She's in Northwest Arkansas. If you happen to be there, so look her up. She'd be happy to buy or sell a house for you. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. Again, thank you very much, Carmen.
Thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me today. Appreciate it, Justin.
Yep. You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.